Let's finish this wackiness. Hey everyone, welcome to Princess Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with my line reaction to episodes 22 through 24 of Fire Force Season 2. We are finishing off the season today. Not really any specific reason as to why. More along the lines of, I just want to. Just gonna get this taken care of, get it done and out of the way, and we can move on to other stuff. So, yeah, I'm definitely interested to see how this season ends. We're in the middle of a notable mission right now. A lot of fights going on. Tamaki being useless as usual. Not much really to discuss going into this, but I notice that I feel like there's been some things that have been missing for a while. The only one I can think of off the top of my head, though, is Sho. Like, Sho just, I feel like he was shown at the end of last season, and then they just kind of dropped him as a focus for a while. It's like they've been showcasing the others in the White Clads, but not him. And it feels a little disappointing. Like, I can understand the point of, like, having him be, like, this big deal and having him rarely show up. But at the same time, like, he's pretty much never even brought up that much anymore. Like, it just feels like he's kind of being pushed to the background, and that feels off for whatever reason. It feels like he should be a bigger deal and they should be focusing a lot more on him. But maybe that's just me. We also still have to resolve the shit with Maki. So hopefully that happens in these episodes. We'll see. We'll see how it goes down. I'm hoping for a satisfying conclusion to this season. But at this point, who knows? With as weird and crazy as shit's getting with these fights, it could go any which way. It's also pretty clear, though, that we're not getting any resolution with our trauma babies this season either. Inca, nothing's happening with her. It's unfortunately very clear. I'm still hoping that she does eventually return to the side of good and that she isn't completely lost for forever. But it very much seems like the Fire Force and them aren't even trying to save her anymore. It's like they're just like considering her a lost cause, and that's really rude, I feel. And then of course we already know that they've already made the worst mistake possible with our baby boy. He's in the worst position, the worst situation he can be in. But they don't care because they're the ones who kind of practically signed off on it and let it happen. It's like there's a lot I love about this series, but there's also a lot that genuinely bothers me. A lot that genuinely irritates me. There's just a lot that I don't like. Whether it's bad writing decisions that just make no sense for the characters or story, or just completely weird choices that feel out of touch almost with reality. And on top of it, like, I won't lie, the stuff with Tamaki does take me out of it quite a lot when that happens. And luckily, I would say that there's overall more good than bad, but the bad does come up enough to where it's notably distracting. So at this point, I'm just hoping that the season closes on a good note rather than something that, is going to irritate me. But we'll see. We'll see. I have hopes. I have faith. Um, let's give it a shot. We have 3 episodes to get through today, so let's do so. When the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episodes. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you at the reaction. Sorry, sorry. Um, we're back. Spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. Like I'm actually, I'm laughing. I'm crying. um, Firecat's out of the bag, I guess. No need to hide it anymore. Like it's not even being subtle about it anymore. Because other stuff has been more subtle, or at least just like, oh, this was like a little cameo thing from Spirit and everything. But no, 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 no. This it's not even subtle anymore. We don't need to hide it anymore. That's proof. That is evidence. Like, I didn't know about that. Okay? I didn't know that was going to happen at all. It, it's like, again, I don't need to hide. I feel like I'm trying to hide it still, but I don't need to because it just showed it. That was the moon from Soul Eater. That was straight up the moon from Soul Eater. I don't know what we're gonna get in season 3, but we just got like the evidence. We just got the confirmation here. That, I mean, I already knew this, mind you, but that was the straight up confirmation for us as viewers that this is a prequel to Soul Eater. That Fire Force predates that series. And I grew up with Soul Eater. I've seen it many times. I absolutely enjoy the shit out of it. It's dumb. There's a lot that's dumb and not great about it. There's a lot about the anime that has not aged well. But there's also a lot that is fantastic. For example, Krona is the absolute best, and I love them. They are just my favorite Soul Eater character by far. I adore the shit out of them, and anyone who speaks ill of them, I hate you. Just don't speak ill of Krona. They are baby. Um, but yeah, it's like, again, this is something I knew about, and I believe like in some previous videos for this series, I had like done a little spoiler portion of the afterthoughts where I talked about that. Like I think I did in the episode that had the cameo from Spirit Allbarn, um, Maka's father from Soul Eater, who was just randomly in an episode at one point. I think it was meant to be mostly a gag cameo, but still, it raises a lot of questions. And now that we see that the moon is foreshadowed here, that Haumea is somehow prophesying, or not prophesying, it's the wrong word, um, foreseeing, let's just say that works. She's foreseeing the moon, the change of the moon. She was talking about a new sun as well, and in Soul Eater, there is also a sentient sun that, all like the moon, has a face and is consistently laughing. So it's like we're seeing the foreshadowing for how this world is going to become the world of Soul Eater. And it's just like we already have Excalibur with Arthur in there. So it's like, oh, there's so much foreshadowing here. And I've because I had been spoiled on the fact that this is a prequel to Soul Eater, I've had to keep shut about all of that. But now I don't fucking have to. I can just I can get excited about that because it's right fucking there. It doesn't hide it. It just blatantly tells you without saying the words, but still tells you that this is a prequel to Soul Eater. There is literally no way that scene could be translated otherwise. um, but let's actually talk about the episodes here outside of that, because it's like I'm genuinely shaking right now. I don't know if that's translating to on camera. I don't know if you can see that, but like that caught me so actively off guard in such a strong way that it's literally overshadowing everything else from the episodes. The hype about it is like just so strong. It's like I have to focus. I have to bring it back to what else happened in these episodes, because otherwise, like I just need to focus myself here. Okay. Okay. So, finishing off the mission, we of course needed Maki's help. That was obviously going to happen. It was obvious that Maki was going to have to come in, help save the day, that her input, her abilities were going to be invaluable to completing this mission. That was obvious. There was no way for that arc to end otherwise. It just wasn't going to. And so, of course, she comes in. Her brother gets to see her in action, gets to see how valuable and strong she is. Though does throw in, a little sexism, as she's, starting to act and everything. But he does eventually help her out, and they manage to redirect the fire of the explosion into the ground. And we see that Maki has chosen to return to the Fire Force, which I am very happy we did get that resolution. I'm not surprised. I believe I said this like a video or two ago. I obviously know she was going to return to the Fire Force. It was just annoyance at what was going on that made me like kind of worried about it. But yeah, it was obviously going to happen. It's interesting to know that Hinawa was kind of testing her, though, that he was kind of questioning her resolve a bit. Not out of any disrespect for her, but because of her upbringing, because of where she's come from and how she was raised and everything. He wanted to make sure that she was absolutely ready. And he wasn't quite confident, but he was proven wrong. And that's really interesting. That's really interesting to see. Giovanni Bug got away despite having his head cut off because he turned into the guy from The Thing. If you haven't seen John Carpenter's The Thing, you won't understand that reference. If you have, you can't argue with that. Come on. That had to be a direct reference to The Thing. Like, it was just so on the nose. And I mean that with all love and everything, because The Thing is one of my favorite horror movies of all time. So I genuinely like uh, mean that with positivity. But yeah, definitely go check it out if you haven't seen it. Keith David's in it. Um, but yeah, so Giovanni Bug gets away. All the bad guys really do, except the ones we've already seen killed. And it's just it's a successful mission still. Like they protected the Tokyo Empire from being absolutely obliterated. So it's a win in my book. um we then go into our final arc of the season, which is a training arc. We have Shinra and Arthur and Tamaki training with the seventh, and we also learn some information about the lieutenant of the seventh and everything. We start to figure some things out with how these Adola links are working and everything. I mean, we find out the fact that Giovanni shouldn't have been able to have an Adola link normally. Um, but we find out that any connection with Adola can cause that. So we learn about the lieutenant of the seventh's situation and how he had seen Adola and everything. And we get some training stuff, of course. Shinra and Arthur are training with Benny. First, they're taking a lot of hazing and stuff, which is also definitely strengthening and toughening them. But it also allows them to be angry enough to kind of like expend all of their oxygen, which allows them to understand the threat of death and push past their limits. It's ridiculous as a training method, obviously. It's absolutely ridiculous. But it's an anime thing, let's be honest. That's a very anime thing. Tamaki, meanwhile, is set to train with the creepy ass little girl twins, and basically she just has to keep away from them for 60 seconds, which at first she has trouble with, but then we see like backstory stuff where people picked on her and bullied her for her lecture lure, and she's able to push past it and last for 60 seconds. Yay. The problem is, it's like, I have no issue with wanting to see Tamaki grow as a character. In fact, I would actually genuinely like that. The only problem is anytime they try to do this with her, they completely destroy the entire point and undercut the message and theme and growth with her lecture lore. Every time that they try to grow her as a character, they completely undercut it with that. And it's really disappointing. And it's actually one of the reasons I hate Tamaki as much as I do. It's not just because of the lecture lore specifically itself, it's because of how they utilize it, how the author and the animation team as well and everyone utilizes it to make a big fucking joke out of her as a character. She's a terribly written character, and that's part of the reason. It's like you try to take this character who is weak, naturally speaking, from a physical and ability standpoint, and you try to grow her as a character, to make her stronger, to have her go through this training, and to have her show her force of will to become better. That's great. But if you undercut it with that stupid bullshit, it doesn't matter anymore. Because you're destroying her character just as much, if not more, than you are building it up. You can't build up a character if you're simultaneously breaking it down. You have to realize that. If you want to build up a character, you cannot undercut it with what is supposed to be um fan service comedy. Like, whether you think it's funny or not, that's not even the point. You can't undercut a character's growth with comedy. It ruins the growth. It destroys everything about that character actually, progressing. It's not good writing to do that. In fact, it's literally the active opposite. It is actively bad writing to do that. Again, it's not even about the fan service itself. It's about how it's being utilized here. The really piss poor way it's being handled is the issue. Because there's, I've said before, I pointed out plenty of times, there's fan service with other characters in here. Hell, there's fan service in these fucking episodes. Arthur and Shinra are practically naked at multiple points in here. There's a specific shot that focuses on Shinra's ass with that with the rope wedged in between his cheeks. You don't think that's fan service? No, that absolutely is. Just because it's with a guy instead of a girl doesn't mean anything. It's still fan service. Like, you're showing buff, hot, naked young men. It's like, that is actively fan service. And it's ridiculous. How you can have that, you can have fan service with Maki and stuff, and all of that feels a lot more naturally handled. Just a matter of episodes back, there was it was the first episode of the Oze family arc, where Maki was in the shower, and she's butt fucking naked, flexing so that her arm is like covering up where her tit is, but it really leaves little to nothing to the imagination. And yet that fan service was not bad because of the way it was handled. It wasn't about oogling her body. She was noticing the physical changes of her form. She was actively noticing through a moment where you would notice your body has changed, a shower. She was noticing that her body has gotten a lot buffer than it used to be, that she's gotten more physically fit. And as we know, she kind of has a thing about her appearance in regards to how she's perceived physically. So that fan service served her character and the plot. That's good fan service. That's what you need to do. Tamaki's fan service actively hurts her character, actively hurts the plot, actively hurts every scene it's shown in. And it's really disappointing because the series shows that you can do fan service right. Even the stuff with Shinra and Arthur in these episodes was fan service done right because it served a purpose. There was an intent and a reason for it. It wasn't just random fan service for the sake of fan service. And it wasn't even just like the shot of like Shinra's ass with the rope underwear in between it. Like, there was also a shot that showed very, very blatant bulges with the very little that Arthur and Shinra were wearing. It showed very notable bulges on them. And it's like, yeah, that is, again, active fan service. This season started out with like a fan servicey calendar for the Fire Force, for the men in the Fire Force. It's like, there is fan service in this that can be done well, though the calendar thing was really fucking random. It didn't hurt anything, but it wasn't like helping necessarily either. That I would consider kind of middle of the road fan service, where it's more comical than anything. Um, but the point is, this series proves that the author knows how to do good fan service. Why does Tamaki exist then? Why does this entire bullshit with Tamaki exist when literally the author has shown that he knows how to do it right? The only explanation is that it's done for the humor, that it's done as a joke. And I've talked about before how the humor in Japan is often different than humor in America and everything. And in various countries, humor is different between various different cultures and people. That's normal. That's reasonable. But there's certain things that I can't I can't understand. I can't reconcile with. And this seems to be a thing in a lot of different anime, a lot of different manga, a lot of different light novels, even video games in Japan. Why do they think this kind of thing is funny? Because it's like, the thing is, you have to realize this lecture lore is basically making a joke out of sexual assault. And that's really fucked up. Why do they think that's funny over there? I don't understand. This is not funny. It just like it's not funny with Sanji in One Piece. I've talked about before. I'm fine with Sanji being a simp, but when he actually gets fucking creepy and, assaulty, that's not good. That's not funny. It's not entertaining. It's some of the worst parts of the entire series of One Piece. And I say that with One Piece being literally my favorite piece of media of all time. So it's like, I'm acknowledging a major fault in my literal favorite piece of media of all time. And basically saying that it's not any better than what we're seeing here with Tamaki. It's not. I hate it when they do that with Sanji, when Oda does that with Sanji, and I hate the author of Fire Force doing this with Tamaki. Again, I want to make clear, I am all for her getting development. I am all for her getting stronger and getting tougher and mastering her abilities. I am all for Tamaki becoming better as a character. But again, when they undercut that with this bullshit, that's not how you do it. Her character development means nothing if you're making a big joke out of it. So I'm sorry, it's just I still don't like Tamaki. I really, really don't. She is actively my most disliked character in this series. And as of now, at least, that's not changing. Um, but we also have the death of one of the captains, and that's a big way for season 2 to end. Killing off one of the company captains with Captain Agu is a massive, massive deal. Because one, he's a captain, and they're supposed to be the pinnacle of strength of the Fire Force. But also, it's a massively bold move from the White Clad. The fact that they're willing to go that far because of his scar, his wounds, and everything. The fact that they are now hunting down everyone with these wounds shows that we're entering the end game of this series. we're entering the final stage of the Whiteclads plot, which is directly said in these episodes, mind you, but still. It's it goes to show how serious this is becoming, how big of a deal this is outside of Tamaki. Because they're just not even trying to take that seriously. Um, but yeah, it's becoming a much bigger deal, and that's really interesting. I'm very curious as to how this is all going to close out. Hopefully, we'll end up getting season 3 this year, but no guarantee. I'm very, very hopeful though. I'm very excited for when it does come. Um, and I wanna bring up, like, there's certain parts of me that, like, I get tired of this series easily, and I want to make want to make it clear that I'm not saying that I have to take the breaks that I do because I'm, like, bored with what's going on, or I lose interest or anything. It's more along the lines of this series is paced, is written, is handled in a way to where I want those breaks in between to build the series up further for me. If I just tried watching it all the way through, I feel like I wouldn't enjoy it as much. And there's points where I just feel like I need to have that break to just kind of take it in. And then I come back to it when I'm, refreshed and ready for more. And it doesn't mean that I'm, like, losing interest. It doesn't mean that I'm having trouble getting through it, or that I'm, like, burning out on it or anything like that. I want to make it clear, in case you were wondering why I do have taken multiple breaks for these seasons and stuff. It's because it's that kind of series to where I need to take a break to refresh myself to appreciate it better. I just I just feel as I'm watching, it's like I can't rush my way through this. I hope that makes some sense. Um, so when season 3 comes, we'll probably do that again. We'll probably take breaks. We'll probably do, like, a couple arcs at a time, maybe, and then do breaks in between, and come back to it after. But we'll see. I mean, I don't know for sure how it's going to go when we get to season 3. I can't say for absolute certainty how we're going to end up tackling that. But we will get to it at some point in the future. Um, and now we have to talk about replacements, because we just finished season 2. So what is going to replace this? Well, we just started our schedule this week. So we should probably continue to go in accordance with that. So as you know, our schedule for Wednesdays is donation rewards. We have 2 donation reward shows we have currently been doing. Symphogear G for Calypso, and we have been doing Fire Force Season 2 for Matthew Vasquez. So now the question kind of comes down to what is going to replace Fire Force as the next donation reward for this slot. There's a lot of choices, as I've made clear before. It's like we have a lot of things that have been on the back burner. We did that preview week where we previewed a bunch of them, a bunch of their first episodes to kind of get a feel for them, and actually, get to some of them. um, but I think what we're going to get to next is one that the donator for has been waiting for quite a while, and has kept incessantly bugging me about. It's like every time a show ends, it's like, oh, I thought you were going to get to this. I wish you were getting to this. And it's like, fine, we'll get to it. um, so replacing Fire Force Season 2, On the schedule for Wednesdays for our donation reward slot will be Lucifer. That's right, we are finally getting back to Lucifer. We did the first episode a while back, and it was actually like surprisingly good. Like it actually genuinely surprised me with how much I enjoyed it. Um, and I've been wanting to see more ever since, so we're gonna do so. So yeah, Fire Force is done. Lucifer is taking its place starting next week. All of that being said, though, if there's anything I missed in my discussions that you want to know my thoughts on or whatnot, please feel free to mention that in the comments below. And for now, thank you so much, as always, for tuning in. I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.